You're on CY Interview.
I'm Chris Yannick, featured columnist Jay Billstein is with me. This coming Thursday through Saturday, the football world will turn its eyes to Las Vegas for the NFL Draft. All 32 teams will welcome new players to the roster. Focusing on the hometown Las Vegas Raiders, we welcome back sports journalist Maurice Moton of Bleacher Report and a bunch of other places. You can see him on the radio, a bunch of other places of reading. Go to his Twitter, Mo Moton, Moemoton, to find more information on everything Las Vegas Raiders. Maurice, thanks for joining us again on CY Interview. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Lacking sleep, but I'm ready for the draft next week, so I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, I think we all are. I mean, it's a very exciting moment. All the different things are being built here in Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip. All the displays, all the broadcast stuff. There's never been more media credentials for an NFL draft. So, focusing and moving ahead to the hometown team. Obviously, the big news is the Raiders have traded their first and second round draft picks for Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Adams, who is now a Las Vegas Raider. Obviously, Davante is one of the top receivers in the league. Do you think this was the right move? Was this the missing piece the Raiders needed last year to go farther in the playoffs? Is the offense now in a great spot? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, as soon as that trade went down, the next day I dropped an article on Bleacher Report, and I stated that Derek Carr and Davante Adams alone are enough to get the Raiders to a Super Bowl, assuming everything else is just average, because they went into the offseason with a big hole wide receiver. Obviously, the tragic accident that happened with Henry Ruggs and him in an accident killing Tina Tintor, a 23-year-old woman. So they needed a wide receiver. They needed a number one, and they got one in Davante Adams. It's a move that a lot of people didn't see coming. But according to reports, Davante Adams wanted out of Green Bay. He wanted to play for Raiders to reunite with his collegiate teammate Derek Carr. They played together for 2 years at Fresno State. I think he will tremendously help the red zone. That's where the Raiders have had problems in the past few years under John Gruden. They just couldn't finish drives. They had to settle for field goals. He even started in the playoff game against the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think having Davante Adams there, he's a big target. Obviously very skilled, as you said, one of the top wide receivers in the game. That's going to help the Raiders finish drives, score a lot more points than they did last year.
Yeah, I think that the move is let's win now, let's get this done. We made the playoffs with all the things we had to overcome last year. Here we are. But looking ahead, obviously, unless the Raiders decide to make a move, they're not going to be drafting in either of the first or second rounds. What do you hope the Raiders do with the remaining draft picks? Could you see them getting back into the second round? What do you think that the things that they could look for in some of these later rounds to fill some holes up?
Yeah, that's the perfect question, Chris, because I just found an article on Sportsnet for the Raiders, trade up targets that they should consider guys, some guys who may be second round picks to the media and to analysts, but could slip into the third round. I think the Raiders should attack the trenches. I believe both sides of the line, the defensive line, offensive line, they still need more bodies. They still need more competition going to training camp. Because let's be honest, they did address the defensive line. I think Bilal Nichols was a big pickup, but a lot of people were disappointed with their offensive line attention because they don't think that they did enough there. Alex Bars they picked up as he's primarily a backup. He was the backup with the Chicago Bears. Knows multiple positions, but this is the guy that's not going to start. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm looking for a guy to compete at right guard with Denzel Good. I'm looking for a prospect who compete at right tackle with Alex Leather, who struggled last year. And just a couple of names I'll throw out. Daniel Fa'alele out of Minnesota. Massive guy, 6'8", 384 pounds. He's an Australian native. Just new to football, so he's a bit green. He just started playing in 2017, but he has tremendous upside if he gets his technique and and fully imposes his will. And I think he will do that as he learns the game. If they can get him if he slides, that'd be a great pickup at right tackle. I also think that Darian Kinnard, out of Kentucky, I think he has the mean streak that you're looking for. I mocked before the Raiders traded their first round pick. I mocked Trevor Pennington because I thought he had the mean streak coming out of Northern Iowa. This guy also has that. He'll be available probably second, third round. He could slip to the third round because some teams look at him as a guard. So the ambiguity there could cause him to slide a bit. If he's available for the Raiders, I think he's the perfect pick at right tackle because he also has the experience at the position. Unlike Leatherwood coming out of Alabama, who played, I believe, at left guard and left tackle. So those are two names I would watch out for. One name I'll give for the defense, Jaquan Brisker. If he falls, he's coming out of Penn State. If he falls, he brings that tenacity. I called it controlled aggression. if he could bring that to the pro level, I think he could be the replacement for Jonathan Abram if the Raiders don't exercise his fifth-year option.
We need to change your title to the official Las Vegas Raiders draft analyst, Maurice Moton. It should be after that one. Jay?
Good to have you on with us, Maurice. Hope you're doing well this morning.
Doing well, Jay. Appreciate it.
Let me move a little bit laterally and just ask an overarching question. Is the draft, along with the combine, are they both anachronistic at this point in time?
That's a good question. I guess it depends on what a person gets from the two events. This year it's kind of mixed. Some people have different feelings of it because we're starting to get hip to okay, what's important and what's not. All the rumors and the scuttlebutt going on. I look at it from an event standpoint. As a writer, I'm looking at things behind the scenes and how does this interview go and numbers. And a lot of people don't care about that stuff. So you have to kind of translate it. What does this mean? What does this prospect having a great vertical mean? His long jump. What does that all mean in the grand scheme of things? And when you translate it, you're looking at explosiveness. You're looking at speed, obviously, quickness, agility, a lot of these guys. So it just depends on where you are and how you view these events going forward and, what's important to you, I guess I would say.
Well, let me work backward because you're coming from a journalist point of view. I'll come from a kind of person in the trenches, spending many decades of my life in training, and at some points in time, actually having had the opportunity to work out with marquee players in the NFL. I'll start with the combine, right? I mean, how fast you run the 40? How many times you can bench press 225 pounds for I'm going to offer Maurice and Chris that the best predictor of football prowess is football prowess, how you are on the gridiron. And if you got good scouts, you're going to find people who are good at the game of football. There are a lot of people who, not currently, but years ago I could have probably run a 40-yard dash faster than most people in the NFL, certainly a bench press 225 more, etc. And I would have gotten wiped off the gridiron by a third-string permanent bench warmer for a Division III college team. So, I just see such little value in it. And then I segue and I say, then we've got the draft. And the draft, to me, why don't we just say, listen, each team, you got X number of dollars that you can spend. Go out there to the colleges and appeal to players, and whoever you get, you get. If every team were simply limited to a certain budget, then you have the free market. Then you have competition. And isn't sports supposed to be about competition instead of, all right, you're going to have the first-round draft pick. You're not going to have the first-round draft pick. You're going to have lousy draft picks because you're such a great team. Why? Why don't we just let them compete?
That's a lot to unpack here. I'll start with the combine, though. And you brought up a good point because I just released a column on the worst draft pick over the past 5 years for every NFL team. And for the Raiders, I had Obi Melifonwu. Not to pick on Obi, but he was what you would call a guy. He works out and you're like, wow, he runs a fast 40. Look at his vertical. Look at his broad jump. And Obi's problem partly was because he ran into injuries, couldn't stay healthy. But even when he was on the field, he just wasn't that good, just for lack of better phrasing. But I get your point about that, but a lot of times with the numbers, you're just looking for those numbers at the combine to match what you see on film. So if you had some questions about a player's speed, does he have enough quick twitch ability? Does he have a good back pedal? You're looking at that stuff at the combine through his workouts to see if it matches up what you saw on film. Because sometimes you miss things when you're looking at film. Now, on to your point about the draft and the budget and the free market, I totally get what you're saying about that because I always said that it would take away, I should say, the teams at the tail end of the year kind of, I don't want to say tanking, but you see a lot of teams at the bottom of the standings just kind of playing their backups because they know, okay, we lose a couple of games here and there, we can get a top 5 pick in the draft. I think with your point of view, you take that away, and you just say, hey, it's free market. You go out there and it's all about competition. We're not gonna hand over the number 1 overall pick because you were 2-15 last year. So I was always, and this is why I think the NBA I would say the NBA is foolproof in their draft plan, but they have a little bit of a ping pong situation where it's kind of a lotto. I don't really love that idea, but I like the idea that just because you had the worst record, they're not just going to hand you over the number 1 overall pick. And I think that's something the NFL needs to look at.
Maurice, let's try to make a headline here. Let's see if you agree with me. The draft rewards incompetence.
Hey, if you want to simplify it that way, I would say it's correct. I mean, you can't argue against that. The worst teams are at the top of the draft order. So if you're bad for past year, you get rewarded with a top draft pick who's going to probably come in and help your team. Now, you still, as you mentioned, your scout team still has to be pretty good because there are some busts out there, and teams do miss on players. So that's the other side of the coin I would mention.
Yeah, I mean, I say get rid of the draft. You say, hey, each team, you only got X number. We won't let people just buy a team, right? We won't allow a George Steinbrenner Yankees from days of old to pick something out of baseball. But what we'll do is, hey, each team, you've got X number of millions of dollars. Everyone can use the same amount of money, and go get your players, and good luck to you.
And sorry to cut you off, but that's why I was going to emphasize that. You want to make sure that the playing field is level because you don't want to short the small market teams.
And the other thing, if a stellar 40 and 225 for reps is one of the golden tickets to making a lot of money in the NFL, maybe I got to drag my old ass out there and say, hey, come hit me up with some money. But it's just. I just see that as a dog that doesn't hunt. I see both of these things as anachronistic parts of gladiator spectacle. I just rather watch evenly matched teams play and not have incompetence rewarded. And hey, if teams are not evenly matched, then work harder. That's what I've got for this morning. That's the kind of piss and vinegar mood I'm in.
That's the capitalistic mood that we need to.
There you go. I'm in with a capital C, Maurice. Let the dollars flow from the heavens.
I do agree with you because every year at the combine, players run their 40s and people go nuts on social media. I'm just like, hey, it really doesn't really translate into much because there's a lot of new technology out there that actually detects actual game speed. So to me, I wouldn't say it's worthless, but people go wild over it because we all know what a fast 40 looks like, so it gets the common viewer involved.
100. Well, yeah. I mean, look, you make a good point, but maybe I got up on the wrong side of bed this morning. But I'm going to say there's a lot that continues to go on with the NFL. That's status quo keeping. Great tradition, great sports. I'm a great Raiders supporter. But for goodness sakes, let's get to the free market and football players show their stuff on the field, not in the gym. Chris?
You can find everything to keep up with Maurice Moton on his Twitter, MoeMoton, Mo Moton. Maurice, just tell the viewers and the listeners quickly, where are you every week? What's going on where they can find you?
I'll be back on with Samuel Branson on Silver and Black today, Fridays, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm over on Bleacher Report writing all things NFL. Of course, at this time of year, it's everything having to do with the draft. I just published 2 columns today. Sports Not, Raiders content, specifically, if you're looking for specific Raiders stuff, over at Sports Not, I'm over there as well. Mo Moton is my byline. Maurice Moton is my full name, as Chris said earlier, MoeMoton on Twitter. If you want to talk about anything that I wrote on Raiders or NFL, you can hit me up over there.
Yeah, and the great thing about Maurice also is that if you have something interesting to say, he actually does respond to his tweets as well. So for Las Vegas Raiders, everything sports journalist and radio host Maurice Moton, featured columnist Jay Bilstein, and CUI interview, I'm Chris Shannon.